If you run a business, it's only going to be a matter of time before you receive a negative review or negative feedback. eBay is no different, and it is impossible to please every customer. And sometimes we even make mistakes. The steps you take after receiving a negative review are more important than the negative review itself. Here are two different local businesses that have a vastly different way of handling negative reviews online. It's also worth noting that both of these stores have countless negative reviews. However, what stands out to me and other customers is how they handle their reply to these negative reviews. This is the first store's response to the first review. And these reviews from this first store are so long that I had to shorten them up. If I read the full review, this video would be over 2 hours long. Like seriously, this guy wrote a book on replying to the negative feedback that he received at his store. Look, you arrogant one-star loser, you were the rude one. I don't have to sell anything I don't want to sell. I told you very clearly that there wasn't anything like what you asked for in the store, and you harassed me for weeks, not taking no for an answer. Just who do you think you are anyways? You certainly had no right to continue with any of it. Get over yourself. Your self-entitlement is mind-boggling. Stay out. I will have you trespassed off of the property, and I still have all of those ridiculous messages that just keep coming. This is harassment. Here is the second reply to another negative feedback that this store owner has left. Once again, this is a shortened version, and I did not include the entirety of his reply because it's way too long for this video. There is simply no excuse for people like you treating anyone like this. Stay out, stay out. I recently told someone who left a 1-star review to get out. He tried, but I still wanted to shop here whining. Have you ever heard the golden rule? It's the basis of all good religions. I'm not in denial. I personally know that I haven't touched the sales area in weeks. I'm preparing everything in the storerooms to come out and moving out of my house at the same time. And bring all of that great stuff I'm not taking to the new house here. And I'm rude? Excuse me? They all stood here and talked to me nicely, then got on here and attacked me. They are all the dregs of society, the ones the rest of us would just be better without. And that's the truth. I have been here 7 years without you, and I will be here unless I choose to leave. Most people love my stores. So anyone like this who must throw a temper tantrum because you could not afford a very high-end bedroom set, I can't believe how much it's worth. You are being petty and rude. God is watching. And quite frankly, I just don't want to meet you at all. Life is too short to waste even 1 second of my time on people like you. These were the replies to negative reviews from the first store. Now let's move on to the second store. Note how much shorter and more concise the second store is to replying to negative feedback. Thank you for your feedback. I'm sorry to hear the new facility hasn't met your expectations. Your perspective on the design and amenities is appreciated, and I'll make sure it's shared with our team. We are always looking for ways to improve the customer experience, and feedback like yours helps guide that process. Here is a second reply to a negative feedback from that second store. We are truly sorry to hear about your experience and want to apologize for the lack of preparation and communication during your visit. We understand how frustrating it must have been. This is certainly not the level of service we aim to provide, and we will be reviewing what went wrong with our team. Please do not hesitate to contact any of our sales managers so we can resolve this and ensure a better experience. Your feedback is important, and we'll work hard to improve from this. So, which store would you rather shop at? Well, most likely the second store is the store that you would actually go to as a customer. Although, to be fair, that first store sounds wild, crazy, and maybe even kind of fun. In today's video, I'm going to share the exact steps I use when I receive negative feedback on the eBay platform. Handling negative feedback can be tough, and sometimes it might even seem unfair. But it's important to remember that a few negative feedbacks will not hurt your business overall. In fact, most successful businesses face a lot of negative press and negative reviews. It's all just part of the game. I would suggest though that if you are a hothead and you are not able to remove your emotions in order to make a reply to a customer, that you just do not reply at all. That first guy at that first store who was responding back to those customers was responding back emotionally. He was responding back so emotionally that he wrote a book blaming everything on the customer. He's probably not a bad guy. However, what it comes off to online is that he is the problem. No matter what the original customer said, if you read that reply, you're going to assume that he was the problem in the situation. So if you are not able to learn the skill set and remove the emotions from the reply, then I think it's best just to leave the negative feedback sitting there without ever answering it. Step 1, ask yourself if you are in the right or if there's any layer of truth to what the person is saying. So on eBay, sometimes I make mistakes, sometimes you make mistakes, sometimes things just happen that are outside of our control. And we have to recognize that we cannot make every customer satisfied. We cannot make every customer happy. Now we should try to do that. However, we're gonna fall short. We are all just humans. So it's important to take a step back and look objectively and see if there's anything that we could have done better to handle the situation. As a business owner, everything comes back on us. So yes, that means when I am scammed on eBay and the scammer leaves me a negative feedback and I'm unable to remove that feedback, it's my fault. It's no one else's fault. It's not the scammer's fault. It's not eBay's fault. It's my fault. It's my fault for choosing eBay as the platform to sell on. I could go and sell elsewhere, but I choose to use eBay. So I have to figure out ways to improve. I always want to look and take ownership of the problem. I always want to see if there's any layer of truth to the issue and determine whether there was something I should do better in the future or something I need to include in the future. In fact, this is how I've grown as an eBay seller. When someone complains about something not being in the listing, I go and add it to all my future listings so that I know that that is something important that customers are looking for. If you are not able to remove the emotion and look objectively at the situation, I suggest asking a family member or a friend to look at the information and see what they say about it. For me personally, this means I sit down with my wife and I tell her what the buyer said, how I responded back, what the feedback says, or what the issue is, and I ask what she would do objectively. She has no skin in the game, so it's interesting to see what her perspective is on the issue, and it's a good way to get good, fair information without having the bias that we have as sellers. Step number 2, take a minute. Yes, I just said that we are responsible for everything. However, we are also human, we make mistakes, we have emotions, we have feelings, and we can get wrapped up in that. So anytime I receive negative feedback, I take a minute to process it. I personally like to cool down before I make any moves forward. I want to gather my thoughts, I want to gather the information, and I want to be thinking in a clear business mindset rather than reacting emotionally to the problem. For me, typically this means I complain to my wife for 5 minutes, then I ask her what she thinks, and then I brainstorm some ideas of how to reply to the feedback or how to ask the customer if I can get the feedback revised. Whatever it is, I like to come up with the strategy ahead of time when I'm nice, calm, and collected rather than reaching out and reacting emotionally. Step 3, I try to fix the problem. Yes, there's going to be problems on eBay, and yes, it is our job to fix those problems. On eBay, if someone leaves you a negative review, you are allowed to send a revision request to that buyer and ask them to change their feedback. Now, this doesn't always work, and in fact, I've only ever sent out 2 of these. However, one of the 2 actually went ahead, revised their negative feedback to a positive interaction. It was pretty simple. They just didn't understand how the eBay platform worked. They thought they were stuck with an item that they didn't want. They didn't know how to open a return. Once I reached out to them and talked them through opening up a return request and sending the item back, I then sent them the revision request and they went ahead and revised the original feedback to a positive interaction. Sometimes it's just that simple. The buyer just doesn't understand the platform, so they think that they just have to complain in a review to get some kind of answer. They never even message me. They might not message you either. They might just leave negative feedback, and that's your chance to reach out and see if you can actually solve their problem. It could be as simple as apologizing because the item arrived late, or it could be offering to return the item for a full refund because they no longer want the item. Sometimes it is just that simple. But no matter what, this should be your first step. As sellers on the eBay platform, it is our job to make the buyers happy. It is our job to correct any of the issues. If the buyer took time to leave you negative feedback, the buyer is upset. It is our job to reach out to the buyer and see if we have any opportunity to improve or to fix their problems. Step 4, reach out to eBay. So if you've reached out to the buyer and you can't help the buyer with their problem, or the buyer is unresponsive, it's worth taking another chance and asking eBay to step in. So there's a few ways to do this. You can call eBay, you can send them a message, and they even have an automatic removal tool. So what you want to do is read up on your seller protections and see if this falls underneath any of your seller protections. The next thing I do is I reach out to eBay or go through their automatic removal tool, and I'll state what the issue is, what I tried to do to resolve the issue, reaching out to the buyer, offering the full refund. I'm going to notate in the notes, and then I'm also going to quote any of the seller protections that may apply. I actually want to have the seller protections pulled up if I'm on the phone, or I'm going to copy and paste them right into the notes section on removal tool so that they know that this is the exact phrasing in your policy and I'm asking you to enforce your policy. Now, to be perfectly honest, I haven't had a lot of luck with eBay removing reviews. I've even had some reviews where I thought the buyer was using feedback extortion, but eBay will beat around the bush, and it's actually fairly hard now to have feedback removed. It used to be a lot easier, but over the last year, they have kind of gone away from removing negative feedback. However, it's always worth a shot to reach out and see if you can get a customer service rep that cares and will take the time to see if they can fix your problem for you. Step 5, reply to the feedback. If all else fails, if you reach out to the customer and the customer won't fix the problem, if eBay won't remove the feedback, it is now time to consider replying to the feedback. It is extremely important to remember that when you are replying to negative feedback, that it is no longer about the original customer. You are no longer trying to solve the original customer's complaint. What you are trying to do is ensure that future customers that may see this negative review see you replying to the feedback in a positive manner, taking accountability for what happened, and offering solutions to the problem. Other good buyers on the platform know that you can't help every customer, that you can't make every customer happy, and that you're going to end up with some negative feedback. However, what they will not excuse is you berating or attacking the other person. If you call someone a scammer, if you tell them that they were trying to rip you off, any of those kinds of things are things that buyers are going to be afraid of. They're going to be afraid of saying, oh, well, if he calls that guy a scammer, what's to stop him from calling me a scammer? And even if that guy was a scammer, the customer doesn't know the whole story, nor do they need to know the whole story. All they want to know is that if there's an issue, that they can rely on you to fix the problem. And that's all you're trying to do in this reply, is that you take your business serious, you take your customers serious, and if there's an issue, you're going to handle it for them. The last thing you want to do is let them see your ugly side. That guy that ran that first store who left those replies to the feedback, he let every single person on Google or every single person that ever sees his store online see his ugly side. And it's going to scare customers away, because even me personally, I don't want to go to that store. Am I going to be attacked? Am I going to be called a one-star loser? What if I ask him a question he doesn't like? Is he going to attack me? You don't want customers thinking about you like this. You want them thinking that you are a professional that will handle any issues that may arise. When replying to negative feedback, there's 4 key things I like to keep in mind. Number 1, keep it short and sweet. You don't want to write a book. It's not the time to go into detail about what happened, how the package arrived late, why the item was broken, or whatever. It's not the time to write a novel. The customer just wants to know that you took them serious and that you offered some kind of solution. They don't want to read a paragraph. The more you write, the more you're going to start to ramble and get outside of the actual facts of the case. Number 2, do not attack the customer and do not attack their experience. Don't say things in the reply to the negative feedback saying like, this item was new, this item was not broken, this item was delivered on time. Whatever your excuses are, save it. That customer no longer cares. You're only talking to future customers, and future customers aren't out here looking for excuses. They're looking to make sure that you're going to handle their problems. So make sure that you focus on that and not on attacking the customer. Now is not the time to get revenge. And honestly, a lot of people that leave negative reviews know that if you react negatively in that review, that's going to hurt you even more, and they love it. So don't let them win. Number 3, use ChatGPT or at least a spell and grammar check. I see this quite frequently where sellers will reply to some kind of feedback and say something like, send it back, sorry it broken, whatever it is. Use full, complete sentences. You want to come off as a professional. Take a second and write out a sentence or ask ChatGPT to write up a quick reply to the feedback. The last thing you want to do is come off seeming like you didn't even take the time to capitalize the first letter, you didn't put punctuation in, it's not a complete sentence, you spelt words wrong. All of that shows that you're unprofessional, so it's actually better to not leave a reply at all. If all you're going to say is sorry or it not broken, then just don't leave a reply at all, because that makes you look like a worse seller than just leaving that original negative feedback up. Number 4, acknowledge the problem and state the things that you did to fix the problem. For me, a lot of times it's very simple to reply to negative feedback. I actually have a template here. I am sorry to hear that you did not like the item. I want all of my customers to be happy with their purchase, and that's why I offer 30-day returns. I have reached out to this buyer, however, there has not been any response. This reply works for most negative feedbacks. So whether it's, I'm sorry to hear the item was broken or did not work, I am sorry to hear the shirt did not fit you, I'm sorry to hear the item took longer to arrive than anticipated, and then I just go in and state that I want you to be happy as the customer, and that's why I offer 30-day returns. Saying that I'm going to accept any return, whether it's that you didn't like it, whether it arrived late, whether it arrived broken, it doesn't matter. I accept returns. So if you're not happy with the item, I want you to be happy. Send it back. And that's all I'm trying to get across to future buyers on the platform. The next time you receive a negative review, remember that it's all just part of the game. Remember that reply is only to attract future customers, and it's not to attack the current customer. If you enjoyed this video, I think you're going to love this one, so go ahead and give it a click.